Real investors. Forget the gurus, guys. Who knows what those folks will tell you? Real investors are where it's at. When you want to learn how to do things and what's working right now, real investors are who you want to talk to. And we're going to talk to a real investor today on the Sub2Deals show. Hey, Sub2ers, welcome to this episode of the Sub2Deals show where we talk about all things subject to. Today is one of our real investors episodes. We haven't done a real investor episode for a while, so we're glad to get back to doing that. So guys, while I've got you for just a second before we bring our investor on today, I just want to remind you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We deliver all types of content there on a weekly basis. Whether it's Goat Nuggets, podcast, or our Goat Talk Live that we do every week. So make sure you subscribe to that. If you're looking for affordable real estate, creative finance, and Sub2 training, we'd invite you to check us out at $7coaching.com. I guarantee you won't find a more affordable, quality creative finance education anywhere. And if you do, let me know about it because I'm interested too. Also, we have our premium coaching program, Sub2MAX, for the more advanced investors out there that are more interested in taking their creative finance to the max. So check us out at Sub2MAX.com. Guys, we're going to bring on our real investor today. Our real investor is a Sub2MAX student who is just killing it all across the country. So we're not going to waste any more time. We're going to bring him in. Hey, Vincent, welcome to the Sub2Deals show.
Thanks, William. How you doing today?
Man, I am doing great. Hope you're doing the same. Vincent is out there in San Francisco, California. Vincent, tell everybody about yourself, about your background, how you got started, and what you do.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'm here in San Francisco, which William and I were talking a little bit right before the broadcast. It's a pretty crazy market, but we got started here with just doing some rental property that we were managing and had an ownership in. And that kind of sparked our interest in real estate. In my previous background, I've had several businesses that I started here in San Francisco that were successful. But then several years ago, we just moved into the world of real estate. And we started out by doing wholesaling. I think that's a lot of starting point for a lot of people nowadays and just in general, because you can kind of do that with a little less finances and make it work. And so we started doing that. And it was very interesting. We were actually, at that time, we were in a mentorship. We won't mention any names or anything. It wasn't a creative finance mentorship. It wasn't any of that stuff. It's just straight teaching you wholesaling. And when we went to one of the events for this mentorship, it's kind of like a challenge was laid down that we picked up. And that challenge was, and they began to talk about buying different properties in different parts of the country. So I think it went something like, you can buy 20 houses in Detroit or, 10 houses in Atlanta or 5 houses in whatever it was, Denver, Colorado, for the same price that you can buy one house in San Francisco.
Right.
And they began to say that, San Francisco is like one of the most difficult markets. And I personally picked that up as a challenge. Like, okay, that means that we need to do a wholesale deal in San Francisco. And we were able to do that. We were able to do our first wholesale deal in San Francisco. We were able to make $30,000 on that first wholesale deal, which again, the kind of, ups and downs of San Francisco and in the market here in the San Francisco Bay Area is that, it is difficult, but one deal can net you a good amount of money. So proof of concept, it was so funny. Like we were at that time, the whole concept was very new to us. And so, we were so concerned that we even went down to the title company, like actually physically pick up the check. Like, is this real? Oh yeah, it is.
Right.
So from there, we began to about, I would say about a year or so after we got into the wholesaling business, it was kind of a dead end. COVID hit, and boy, as we know, I mean, particularly here in California, things really, really shut down. I mean, whereas we used to go and maybe go look at, I don't know, maybe a half a dozen properties or more every week. And, we had probably about 10 real estate agents and different people we were working with, and just networking events. We would try to go to all the kinds of different networking events. I mean, all that shut down to where you couldn't even go view houses for a little while, like at all, like even with a mask or anything. It was just completely shut down. So during that period of time, we just began to pick up more education and ran into like all these creative financing strategies that you teach, sub-2s and all of the good stuff. And it opened up a whole new world to us. And I suppose the rest is history. From there, we've done subject to deals, we've done seller finance deals, we've acquired rental properties, we've sold properties on wraps. I mean, just all kinds of stuff. So it's been a fun journey. I will say that the whole world of creative finance opened up, a lot, so many more opportunities to us.
For sure. It's amazing. Sub2 and seller financing have been around literally forever. But I run into so many people, investors, most investors think you go out, you get a bank loan, you buy a property, it's a rental property, or they do wholesale stuff. It's amazing the number of people don't know about it and how it works. And I think some of the changes we're going to see here in the next year or two, that is going to be the way to acquire real estate.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I kind of felt like when I began to know about it, like I felt like it was kind of one of those secrets of the rich type of thing, right? That wasn't really, I would say, like it's been around for a while, right? But I don't think it was available to just, people that really weren't maybe in those higher echelons. And I felt like it was maybe something that, was kept under wraps, right? Like we don't want to release this as some secret information. But, I mean, like people like yourself, have made it available and taught it. And I agree with you. I think so many things we're finding in the market now, and people that are in distress and, kind of coming out of COVID where these things are lifting, but people have been in financial difficulties and foreclosures, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, even in the last few months, we've had several foreclosures. And even just last week, we had to stop a foreclosure that was 4 days away. And I mean, literally, like it was on Friday, and we didn't even get a chance to stop the foreclosure process till Monday. So, so a lot of that right now, people are, in financial distress and about to lose their homes, and there's a way that we can step in and help them out.
Right, for sure. Yeah. I'll tell you, and I'm sure you can attest to this as well. It's shocking the number of real estate agents, attorneys, professionals, licensed people that do this stuff every day that you mention, creative finance or buying Sub2, and they're, I've never heard of that before. That must be illegal, and here we are, we know all about it.
Don't get me started, because I've unfortunately been involved in real estate transactions that the seller was completely amenable to it, and other real estate professionals, we won't name any names, have blown up the deal simply because they're scared of it because they're not knowledgeable about it, right? And it's like the fear comes from the lack of the knowledge, really. I mean, it's, as we know, these things are legal and done, and like you said, but they're fearful of it. Like, oh, I've never heard of that. You can't do that. Like you said, it's illegal. Sometimes it's so funny. I've had title companies tell me, we can't do that. That's illegal. And then you go to another title company and they're like, oh yeah, we do that all the time. No problem.
Right.
Yeah. It's so funny.
Well, my favorite thing to do with those agents or those closing attorneys or those title companies is to say, have you looked at your HUD or your ALTA? Have you looked at, 203 and 503? What does that mean? What do y'all use that for? And then it's like, no, they don't have anything else to say. They don't know. But anyway, that's another story. But it's amazing. It really is. Well, so you got, I know you told me you guys bought your first rental about 15 years ago, and then about 4 years ago, you really got serious about it. But what initially got you interested in real estate investing?
Yeah, it's interesting. So I've always had a propensity for business. I had a business here in San Francisco that was an import and export company. I actually, like when I was younger, I just found this guy literally in his garage. He was from Shanghai, China. And I went over to his house one day and met him. And he had just recently come over from Communist China. He actually has a really interesting story. I mean, he was there when when China turned into a communist country, and then just got out and came with almost nothing to this country. Anyway, we partnered up and we started a business which became successful. Then I had another business. So I always had a interest in business, and my wife always had an interest in real estate. And for so many years, she'd be like, we should do this. And then it's like, I don't want to be a landlord. I don't want to do that. I don't want the headache. So I think we came to a point in our lives where, the business that I was in, which was kind of a more tech involved business, was tech always changes. And so that was kind of coming to an end. And she actually was a teacher for many years. And we both were feeling like her career as a teacher was kind of coming to an end. And it did at a point in time. And so we ended up going to just like one of these real estate investment seminars that you see all over the place, right? And then we started to hear about wholesaling and all these things. And I was familiar with the concept of wholesaling because actually the business I had in San Francisco was a wholesaling business. We were importing things from overseas and wholesaling them to the retailers here in the kind of a lot of tourist areas. And that just, that got us started. It was kind of, I think really it was kind of my love for business partnered together with my wife's love for real estate. And so we kind of met in the middle, like, right, okay, well, you love real estate and I love business, so let's start a real estate business. And that's how we kind of got started on everything.
Gotcha. So it sounds like you held rentals, you've done some wholesaling, now you're doing creative stuff, seller financing, sub-twos. So do you have a business model, or are you more of a transaction engineer? You'll do anything with whatever comes along?
I would say at this point in time, I mean, I'm more of a transaction engineer, although the long-term goal is to acquire the passive income properties primarily through creative financing. But I think the thing is, what happens to you over time is just opportunities come your way. And if opportunities make sense, the one thing I would say right now in this market, I'm probably a little more conservative, I mean, even though opportunities come our way, like we're kind of like a little more conservative. Like like last week, we bowed out of a deal right there in the area that you're in right now in Tampa, right? Because like when we look at it, all the moving parts of it, we're like, the juice isn't worth the squeeze on this one. Like, and also I think things that we're doing in that realm, we're trying to get in and out of them as quickly as possible. So, I mean, if you came to me now and said, well, there's a really good opportunity to make money, but it's going to take 9 months, I'd probably be like, I don't know, because I really have no idea. None of us do what's going to be happening 9 months from now. So, so I'd say more of our business model is definitely going towards the passive income, acquiring properties primarily through creative financing strategies, and then just, having that income by doing them as rentals or wraps or whatever makes sense for that particular property.
Right. Yeah. The reason I always ask that question is because I went through that in the beginning where, you're trying to figure out what it is you want to do. When you're learning, you don't know what you don't know. I mean, there are all these different techniques, and there are a million ways to make money in real estate. And so I started out doing transaction engineering. If something came along, I was never a wholesaler. I skipped that step.
You skipped that step. Right?
I did. Wholesaling didn't appeal to me from the beginning because I knew it was transactional. It was very transactional. It was short term. You'd make a little money. You're constantly hustling to make that next check. And I tell you, in this market though, where you see some of these wholesalers making, $250,000 on a flip and stuff, it was a lot different when I got started 25 years ago. A wholesaling fee was commonly, $5,000, $10,000, $15,000. So you had to be hustling all the time. Now, but if a deal came my way and it was not my type of house, then I would wholesale it to somebody that I knew liked those type of houses. Mobile homes, same thing. I've never bought a mobile home, and Yeah, my grandfather always said, "Don't say what you'll never do," but I will never buy a mobile home. I just don't like them.
Yeah.
Now I know people who make incredible returns with mobile homes,
Yeah.
but they don't appeal to me.
Mm-hmm.
But about 10 years ago, a little bit longer now, we just shifted to where we do one thing. That's it. We buy nice houses. We pay up to full price for them. We sell them on a wrap. We create cash flow. We make 50, 60 grand per deal. And that's what I've moved toward teaching people. It's just simplicity. Do 10 or 15 of these a year, live a good life, make plenty of money. But transaction engineer, I think you just get tired of all the other stuff.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. I mean, part of that is I agree with you on that. Like that's where we're ultimately going to, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's doing that. And I think, you can talk a lot about different things, but I mean the one advantage of doing the wraps is like that you don't have the landlord responsibility, right? So if that's kind of where you're at, like, I mean, there's other things that you may give up, right? Like the possibility of appreciation, some of that type of stuff. But again, if all you're wanting to do is like just make passive income and with as little headache as possible, then that's definitely the route to go. So I would say ultimately, getting to where you're at, right?
Right. Yeah. We've discussed recently the possibility of picking one deal a year and saying, you know what, let's keep that one. But I don't know, man, that thought of being a landlord. And if I decide I want to travel, I want to go to Europe for 6 months or a year, whatever, and then I've got to rely on somebody over here. And I say that, I was thinking about doing that, but now we've spent the last year in Airbnbs. And I'll tell you, we're in a nice Airbnb right now. It's really nice. It's a, $600,000 house. I mean, but this guy is having the hardest time with service people getting stuff done that needs to, if something like the yard or something like that, it's just a constant struggle. And this guy is a successful investor. He owns multiple properties. He lives in New York. And just talking to him about it, man, just makes me go, ooh, the heebie-jeebies about rentals. I just don't know.
Yeah, I know. I mean, particularly with the short-term rentals, I have a buddy here in the San Francisco Bay Area that does a lot of that, and I just see, like, he does well with it. Like you're saying, he's a successful businessman, but I just see like he's constantly on the phone, constantly trying to solve problems, and now he's trying to, build out a network of people around him that can kind of, be a buffer. But I mean, still, he's kind of like in the middle of all that. So it's like, just from watching him do that, it's like, I don't think I really want to do this.
Right. I'm telling you, they make good money, but my goodness, man, there's that hassle factor, and I just, at this point in my life, I don't want to deal with it. I'd rather.
I mean, unless you can get somebody else to do it for you, like you said.
That's exactly right. Well, let me ask you this, Vincent, because this is a big thing. This is when I send out an email or ask a question in a group or something about it, this is the most common question I get now. What is your best source for leads right now? And I always, on these real investors, this is the question that I put to my guest. I say, Vincent, if your life depended on you generating quality leads within the next 24 hours, what would you do?
That's a good question. For me personally, I would say my best source for leads is networking. I have always enjoyed that. I mean, from the day one of being involved in real estate, like, I was going to the real estate meetups. We had a guy here in the Bay Area that would do like a couple of those a month or so in the height of it, right before COVID. And so I would show up to all those and I would network together with people. And so like I reach out to people, people reach out to me and bring me deals, so sometimes those are opportunities to be joint venturing with people, or sometimes those are opportunities to just maybe, take a deal, maybe for a referral fee. So that's primarily what I do. I also work with a partner who does what most people I would say is the more traditional type of lead generation, which is, cold calling lists and getting VAs. So, but for me personally, it's really about networking. I use social media a lot to network together with people. I actually now like have a team of people that help me with that because for me personally, it just became overwhelming to keep up with. So I have a team of people that go into my messages and respond to people, and if there's an opportunity there that they think I need to know about, they'll let me know about that. So yeah, for me, honestly, people ask me that question really often, and the honest answer is, for me personally, networking. And maybe it's not for everybody, but for me it is.
Okay, well, I get networking, and I mean, I know what you're talking about. But if I'm a brand new investor and I'm listening to this, and somebody tells me my best source of lead generation is networking, I have no idea what they're talking about. If I'm new, what do I need to do right now? Who do I need to network with? How do I meet these people? What do I do?
Yeah. So what I would suggest is, like, now that we're kind of out of COVID and meetups are happening, you go to your local real estate meetups. I mean, and we still have a lot of things happening virtually that you can do. And a lot of people do meetups, and, you can do it in your particular market, or if you're looking for something on a more national basis, you can do that. And, you just go and basically what I would do when I first started doing this is I would just go up to people and introduce myself. And I would say, I'm a real estate investor. And even though I was really just more or less getting started as a full-time real estate investor, and, I think when I have conversations with people, I just look at, what is the opportunity for me to bring some value to them, and in turn, what is the opportunity for perhaps them to bring some value to me. So I always put myself out there as somebody who tries to be helpful, to others. I mean, I'm willing to share resources and different things that I have. And I mean, I think that if you were brand new, I would say just start going into that, start joining some just of the Facebook real estate groups and participating in that, maybe putting up some posts of things, maybe questions you have or things that you're doing. Maybe if you go look at a house, you can take some pictures and say, hey, I went and looked at this ugly house today, or, just start getting things where you can engage with other people in the real estate business. And I found that over time, you gravitate towards relationships that will work for you, and people that you want to network together and with, and for me, that's been it's not only been successful, but it's also been, just for me, who I am personally, it's been gratifying, because I like people, I like to talk to people, I like to meet new people. So it depends on your personality, right? If you're not an extrovert or not like that type of person, then you probably should go maybe a different route, right? Of maybe going the more traditional route of pulling lists, and maybe getting some virtual assistants to call for you. And I mean, at some point in time, you're going to need to get on the phone, and you have to have people skills in this business, irregardless, right? To talk to sellers, to do these type of things, no matter how you're generating the leads, you really do need those people skills, or you need to partner with somebody that has them.
That's right. I see these guys post these text exchanges they do sometimes, where a seller comes back and says something to them not very nice, and they immediately just go on attack mode with the seller. Now, what are the chances of them ever converting that seller and buying that house? I mean, zero.
Zero. Yeah, you have to. I mean, you would probably agree. You have to be pretty thick-skinned in this business, right? I always tell people, and I, sometimes even myself, I have a hard time doing this, but you really have to become emotionally detached from this, because there's so many things. Like yesterday was the 4th of July, and the first thing I get a text from one of my buyers, and they're like trying to back out of the deal at like the 9th hour, like, we're about to close this week, right? And I'm like, we've worked for a couple of months, and the stupid reason why they're backing out is because we had to wait on the title report, which is actually protecting them. So I mean, and then it's 4th of July, it's a holiday, so I'm like, okay, I don't want this to get to me right now. I got to forget about it. Yeah. So you definitely have to become emotionally detached from these things. There's going to be ups and downs, and you just gotta go along with the ride, but don't start fighting with the seller. That's not a good idea. People are gonna be mean. People are gonna blow you off. People are gonna curse you out sometimes. I mean, just move on to the next thing, right?
people are, I don't know, social media, I think, is the biggest contributor to this. Because everybody's behind a keyboard now, but sellers a lot of times just aren't very nice. But we've been in a seller's market for a while now. Again, I think that's going to change. We're going to
Yeah,
see people
yeah,
that,
yeah.
that
And
are yeah, looking for help.
yeah, and I mean, that is true, but then sometimes you find those people where, you really can help them out, right? Like, what if,
Right.
I was talking with you earlier, like we just stopped a foreclosure that was 4 days away, so I mean, and these people had equity in their house too, like a decent amount of equity, like not an astronomical amount, but I mean, in the tens of thousands of dollars. So like if you can come in and be like, okay, so either you're going to get your house foreclosed on, you're going to basically hose your credit and you're going to get zero money out of it, or we can come in and stop that from happening, get your house, sold, and, you're going to get the equity out of it. And you're going to some extent, save your credit. You come in as a problem solver, and you come in as someone who can help you. And oftentimes in those situations, it's funny. Like sometimes people ask, like, why would anybody ever do like subject to, like, right? I mean, and then I mean, I think I even asked myself that, at times when I was first, and you realize it's, people have circumstances, and you're actually like helping them by doing what you're doing.
Right.
And I've had people be so thankful. There's some sellers that I worked with almost a couple of years ago that I still contact every once in a while, and they still contact me, and they're still like grateful, like, because they were able to move on with their lives. They're now doing well. They got out from under a burden that wasn't working for them or wasn't good for them at the time. So
Right.
yeah. So I mean, I try to develop a good relationship with sellers. It makes
Right.
it makes life much more enjoyable.
Right. And I think that's an opportunity. And I know I certainly missed it for years and years. Is that just because it's no today doesn't mean it's no next month. I mean, everyone you talk to that says no needs to go into a follow-up campaign.
Absolutely. Yeah. Follow up. Like we're setting up a lot of our follow-up campaigns now. I mean, we've had them already, but we're setting them up now. And, we're
Right.
looking at like, different people in different categories, and,
Right.
how often will we follow up with them, and what kind of message will we want to be getting to them. And, and you can, nowadays with all the technology we have, you can automate some of that stuff as well. And as well as like we're on the phones every day talking to people as well. So we're doing both, right?
Yeah. And you mentioned that about your foreclosure that you stopped and who would do a sub-2, but I'll tell you, it's amazing, especially now with the increase in property value we've seen over the last couple of years, and then a year with no foreclosures. We looked at a house yesterday, $600,000 house that has a $40,000 mortgage. That's 2 weeks from the auction. I mean, my goodness, like these people can't do, but you see stuff like that go to the auction if someone doesn't step in, because they always, well, we got it taken care of. We got it taken care of. But man, it was just amazing stuff that you're going to see go into the auction now.
Yeah, it makes you wonder. I mean, and again, it's all circumstances. Sometimes people are going through difficult times, health issues, divorces. I mean, sometimes like those things, even with the divorce issues, it's like one party's trying to spite the other parties, so neither one of the parties is doing anything. So yeah, I mean, but again, you can step in and help somebody out. I mean, we had another situation several months ago, which we did take over the mortgage subject to, and that guy was in arrears like 60 or 70,000. He had 2 different loans on his property. I mean, he was in deep debt. So we came in, gave him $9,000 cash, paid off those arrears, and then what we did with that property, because there was a fair amount of cash that had to go into it, we just did what's called a subtail. So went in $5,000 in the property and then put it back on the market. But we never had to buy the property outright because we took over the mortgage subject too. But again, that guy was he was in a position where he was gonna not get anything out of it. He was going to go in foreclosure and then have his credit ruined. And, and we were able to step in there and get some cash into his pocket, get him out from under the burden of that mortgage. And in that particular case, we ended up paying off the mortgage in like 2 or 3 months time as well. So,
yeah. Okay. All right. So, Vincent, I know you say you do a lot of networking, but you obviously use some tools in your business. What are your favorite tools to help you?
So let's see. My favorite tools to help me are I do use a company called Privy to do some of the
Mhm.
comps. I think you're aware of those guys, so that they're a really good comping tool because they do
Mhm.
have the MLS data. There are other things out there like Propstream and other things that also can serve the same process purpose. I mean, I definitely use social media stuff a lot. So Facebook, Instagram. I now have some people that help me do my posts and put
Mhm.
together content for me. So like recently we just filmed a whole bunch of content like a week ago that we're going to be posting up there. I have an app on my phone called Batch Driven that I use for like, checking out. One thing that I like about that is I can just skip trace properties like right on my phone. So like even
Right.
sometimes like I'm walking around my neighborhood here, I call
Mhm.
it walking for dollars as opposed to driving for dollars.
Right.
And if I see an old beat up house, I can go in right away and see like who owns it and what's going on. I'm not the most tech guy. I mean, we do have a CRM. I think we're using REI Reply right now for that,
Mhm.
which people use. So I mean, but there are all those tools, right? They're somewhat interchangeable. Like it's
Mhm.
funny because I was at a seminar about 2 months ago, and I met a guy who does the data, and he was like does the data for a lot of CRMs. He's like, do you know that this, and this all basically we do all the back end for all of these people, and then
Right.
we label as different things. So,
That's
but
right.
yeah, but just say basic tools is like, some kind of comping mechanism, which,
Mhm.
again, Privy, Propstream, those type of things,
Right.
some kind of CRM, whatever
Mhm.
you use. There's Freedom Soft, there's Deal Automator, there's REI Reply, there's a bunch of them.
Mhm.
And then, some kind of skip tracing thing. Those are
Right.
probably like the three main, whatever product or brand you use, the
Mhm.
three main kind of technologies that we use day in, day out in our business to help us
Right.
out.
You know, the key though, Vincent, that I found this time and time again is people see something, they want to be a real estate investor. They buy all of these products, whether they get PropStream or REI Reply or whatever, but then they don't use any of them, so they don't do them any good. But they got them, but that didn't transform them into an investor. You have to. The first step is talking to sellers.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And to be honest with you, William, like we didn't have any of that when we
Mhm.
started, right? It was all totally organic. It was
Right.
the only reason now we're doing that is because it's just a matter of to really scale. Like,
Mhm.
you
Right.
know, it's just to actually scale that's helping us. But we had none of that. Everything was just totally organic, right? We didn't
Yeah.
have a CRM. We didn't have any of that stuff, right? We were when we were doing comps, we were just going up on Zillow and Redfin and Realtor.com and just
Right.
running comps through there. And our CRM was like a whiteboard and
Mhm.
you know, and some forms that we had, right, that we
Right.
would fill in, and all of that. So yeah, I would agree with you. Like all of that technology and stuff is good, but
Mhm.
you know, if you don't start from square one and talk to sellers and think, it's like the technology is just a tool to help you to facilitate doing things more organized and easier, but it's
Mhm.
not, you can do this business without having any one of those tools and still be successful.
You bet. You know, these new guys, they'll post in groups, "Oh my gosh, prop stream's down. What are y'all doing?" And I try to tell them, listen, when I got started, we used to drive for dollars all
Yeah.
week and then go to the tax assessor's office and
Yeah.
get on their computer and look up the owners. I had one day a week that I did that. And then you would have to go in and hand stamp and mail postcards and do all that sort of stuff. My CRM for 20 years was a legal pad.
Yeah.
That
Legal
was
pad.
it.
I know.
Yeah.
I honestly, when I was, starting out, it was all like just handwritten stuff. And then, we had a board where we had the deals written down and
Mhm.
we put them in different categories, like, prospects, under contract,
Mhm.
pending, whatever type of thing. And yeah, so yeah, it's I'm sure all the tech guys are going to love us right now, but I mean, it's true. You can do all this, and it probably makes sense. Like, you know, I think you're gonna put out some money in this business, right? But it's like it's a whole lot better feeling if you're like, just get your business started, and then you start to make money. Then you can decide like, okay, well now, this tool makes sense for me to have, instead of like you go out, like you said, put out a bunch of money and then you don't even do any deals. So
that's like people that don't actually get started because they can't decide what to name their LLC. Well, I owned 4 houses before I ever got an LLC. Okay.
Yeah.
I started with a Carlton Sheets course, and this is what I tell people: get some assets before you worry about protecting them. If you ain't got nothing, you got nothing to worry about, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think there's definitely a mindset of like, and I've run into this so many times, like, I need to know this before I can start investing. I need to have all of the knowledge, and, and I need to have all the tools. And I mean, thinking back about this for myself, William, it's like literally like I had none of that. All I had was a desire to do it and learn about it and take action. And I felt like the best way for me to do that was to just jump into it head first. And start doing it and fall on my face and figure it out, and have people, like yourself and others that I've been able to reach out to, to answer some of these questions. I remember a while ago, you saved me from a deal that was like not going to be good whatsoever. Surround yourself with knowledgeable people and just start doing it. Don't think like, oh, if I don't know everything about this, I'm not going to be able to do it. I mean, honestly speaking, the best education is doing deals, because every deal you learn something different, right? You learn the ins and outs of things, and you learn, every single deal that's the education there. Like for me, the education has always been like actually doing the business, and every single day I'm learning something new, and by doing different deals and different transactions. And so if anything, if anybody's listening to this podcast, which they are, I'm sure somebody is, I should say anybody, for those of you that are listening to this podcast, don't get that analysis paralysis, and just get in there and start making the phone calls, start taking the action, don't think like, I have to know everything before I can do it. Absolutely nothing. I knew very little about it at the beginning, but I learned along the way. And now, from having done so many different deals in this area, like I know, especially the imagination, know everything, but I know so much more just by the fact that I took the action and did the deals and learned the ins and outs of how the deals work and how the contracts work and how you deal with title companies and title attorneys and how you deal with sellers and what you do if these problems come up.
Right. So it sounds like actually we just answered this question, but you may have more to add to that. If you could give a new investor wanting to get started today advice, what would it be?
Yeah, in a way, we have answered that question. Definitely. Yeah. I mean, if I was to give an investor new advice, it would be just kind of what we were talking about. Like, don't get caught up. The education is important. We all want to learn. We all want to grow. I mean, one of the things that I love about this business is that it is challenging and that there is always something new to learn. And it's, and it does expand your thinking, and it causes you to, go into situations and figure out problems and be a problem solver and all the above. But I would just say, like, don't think that, you have to know everything. Like I said, so many people will be like, well, I would start doing business today if I just knew this, right? And it's like, you just need to do it. You need to take the action and not be fearful of doing that. And the other advice I would give is just, from day one of the interesting things that I did, and my wife also works with me, and so we did together, is we called ourselves real estate investors to everyone we met, every realtor we met, to every group we went into, right? And even though to a large extent, we were just starting our journey at that point in time. Like we took on that identity. We are real estate investors, and we walked in with confidence that that's what we were. And so the other suggestion I would have is just have that confidence. It's like, that you know where you're going to, you know what you're doing, wanting to do. Like you're in this business because you want to be a real estate investor, but call yourself a real estate investor. Have the confidence when you go in and meet with people, just have the confidence to be, I'm a real estate investor. Now, there'll be people around you that will help you, that will answer your questions. But I felt like one of the things that allowed us to have early success was that confidence, right? Mm-hmm. That confidence, like, yes, we don't know. True, we don't know everything. True, but we are real estate investors. We're walking into this, like, this is what our business is. This is who we are. And like I said, with everybody that we met, we would just put that forward, and we would be confident about it. And when we had our conversations, we would have that confidence. And so that's who you are. That's what you are. You are a real estate investor, and you are in the game, whether you're starting on day one, week one, month one, year one, whatever point in time you're in your journey. Like, just have confidence. And when you go into meet people, and when you do your transactions and deals, just have that confidence. I think that's really important to the process. And I talk to a lot of people about that as well. Is just to have a confidence. Like, even if you don't know what you're doing, just have confidence. Yeah.
Right. That you may not have the answer today, but you'll figure it out if you come across something. So, yeah. I mean, surround yourself by people who can help you and answer those questions.
There is. I mean, exactly. I mean, one of the things that you always want to do is you definitely want to surround yourself with people that have more experience than you and have done things. And I mean, over time, like, that's absolutely what we have done and still do today. And I mean, that's one of the reasons we were talking earlier, why I said, I like to keep connected up with you. And yeah, and you surround yourself with people that have more experience and that, can help you. And I know early on, even I remember there was another guy who's been in the business about 25 years here. And, he invited us into his office and spent about a half a day with me and my wife and answered a lot of our questions. And that guy's still a good friend of mine today, and we still keep connected and yeah. So, and if you're that person that has the experience, help out people, right? Pass it on down the line. So, I mean, I'm actually right now, my daughter recently, she's become interested in real estate investing. So, I just been sitting down and teaching her, things and teaching, and then that's been great. That's been a pleasure and fun for me, So I love doing that type of thing, helping others to learn and passing on the knowledge that I have. I mean, people did that for me, so I want to do that for others.
Sure. Now, I know you like to network, Vincent. So if anyone listening to this wants to get in touch with you, how could they do that?
Probably the best way is perhaps over social media. You can find me on Facebook as Vincent Lanza. You see my name is down there. And you can just message me on Facebook and I'll respond to you. Like I said, I do go into my Facebook messages and respond. I was doing that actually over the weekend. I was catching up with a lot of it. And then I have, a few people on our team that do that. So yeah, just reach out to me if I can help out in any way. I'm more than happy to do it.
Okay, awesome. Well, great, Vincent. We sure appreciate you coming sharing information with us today. You're doing a great job, and sounds like you're very successful, and good for you. So, but we appreciate you coming out today.
Well, thank you, William. I appreciate you, and thanks for inviting me today.
All right, great. Thanks. Okay, guys, that is it for this episode of the Sub2Deals Show. We hope you enjoyed it. We hope you'll subscribe to our channel on YouTube. If you enjoyed the podcast, we would love a 5-star rating and review at Apple Podcasts. It only takes a few minutes to do it, and it helps other people find the show. So until next time, get out there, talk to some sellers, and buy some houses.